Hello everyone, welcome back to the Commander's Garage. This is going to be the Dungeons of Death, so I'm just going to get right into it. The intended commander is Sephiroth of the Hidden Ways. For white, blue, black, you get a 2/3 human wizard with whenever a creature card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, venture into a dungeon. This only triggers once per turn. Then you have Create Undead. Whenever you complete a dungeon, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, this deck's going to focus around creatures, so let's get into it. Merfolk Leader. For 1 and a blue, you get a 1/1 Merfolk Rogue with tap, draw a card, discard a card. The discarding a card effect actually does trigger the commander. Reassembling Skeleton. 1 and a black. For a 1/1 Skeleton Warrior. Pay 1 and a black, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Phantasmal Image, 1 and a blue. You can have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature, except it's an illusion, and it also gains when this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. Ramon Unicorn, for 1 and a white. You get a 2/2 Unicorn, sacrifice it, destroy target enchantment. Wall of Omens, 1 and a white. For a 0/4 wall with Defender, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Baleful Strix, blue, black, flying Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. It's a 1/1. Plague Crafter, for 2 and a black. When it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Each player who can't discards a card. It's a 3/2. Necrotic Sliver, for 1 white, black. You get a 2/2 Sliver. All slivers have 3. Sacrifice it, destroy target permanent. It's the only sliver in the deck, by the way. Min Wily Illusionist, for 2 blue, blue, you get a 1/3 Legendary Gnome Wizard. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue illusion. With this creature gets +1/+0 for each other illusion you control. Whenever illusion you control dies, put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to that creature's power from your hand onto the battlefield. Obsessive Stitcher, 1 blue, black. Tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Or 2 blue, black. Tap, sacrifice Stitcher, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a 0/3. Doomed Necromancer, for 2 and a black. You get a 2/2 human cleric mercenary with black. Tap, sacrifice it, return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. From your graveyard to the battlefield, sorry. Hama Pashra Runeseeker, for 1 a white and a blue. You get a 2/3 human wizard. Room abilities of dungeons you own trigger an additional time. Sorry about the stutter there. Burnished Heart, for 3, you get a 2/3 artifact creature elk with 3. Sacrifice it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. Champion of Wits, 2/3 for a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, you may draw cards equal to its power. If you do, discard 2 cards. It also has Eternalize for a cost of 5 blue, blue. You exile it from your graveyard to create a token that's a copy of it, except for it's a 4/4 black zombie Naga wizard with no mana cost. Eternalize only as a sorcery. Clay Golem, for 4, you get a 4/4 Golem. With 6, roll a d8, monstrosity X, where X is the result. If it's not monstrous, you put X 1/1 counters on it, and then whenever it becomes monstrous, destroy target permanent. Hostage Taker, for 2 blue, black. You get a 2/3 human pirate. When it enters the battlefield, exile another target creature or artifact until Hostage Taker leaves the battlefield. You may cast that card as long as it remains exiled, and you can spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast that spell. Phantom Steed, 3 and a blue for a 4/3 Horse Illusion with Flash. Enters the battlefield, exile another target creature until Phantom Steed leaves the field. When it attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of the exiled creature, except it's an illusion in addition to its other types, and then you sacrifice it at the end of combat. Midnight Pathlighter, for 2, a white, a blue. You get a 2/3 human wizard, and creatures you control can't be blocked except for by legendary creatures, and whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, venture into a dungeon. Solemn Simulacrum. For 4, you get a 2/2 artifact creature golem. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped. When it dies, you may draw a card. Curator of Mysteries. For 2 and 2 blue, you get a 4/4 Sphinx. With flying, whenever you cycle or discard another card, you scry, and you can cycle it away for a single blue. Karmic Guide. For 3 white, you get a 2/2 Angel Spirit with protection from black. It has Echo for 3 white at the beginning of your upkeep. If it came into your control since the beginning of your last upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay its Echo cost. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Cloud Blazer. 3 white and a blue. For a 2/2 human scout with flying. When it enters the battlefield, gain 2 life, draw 2 cards. Murder of Crows. 3 blue for a 4/4 bird. With flying, obviously. Whenever another creature you control dies, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Cataclysmic Gearhulk. For 3 white, you get a 4/5 construct with vigilance. Enters the battlefield. Each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, and then sacrifices the rest. Muldrifter. For 4 and a blue, you get a 2/2 flying elemental. When it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. It also has Evoke. You can pay 2 and a blue rather than pay its full mana cost. When you cast it this way, it's sacrificed when it enters the battlefield, so it becomes a draw 2. Shriekmaw also has Invoke, but it also has Fear. It is 4 and a black for a elemental, 3/2 with Fear. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact non-black creature. Its Evoke cost is 1 and a black. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this, so I'm gonna go with Nithlor. For 2 white, blue-black, you get a 3/5 Legendary Horror. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, tap up to 1 untapped creature you control. When you do, gain control of target creature that player controls with power less than or equal to the tapped creature's power, as long as you control this creature. Whenever you attack with a creature an opponent owns, you gain 2 life, that player loses 2 life. Good old Sun Titan. For 4 white, you get a 6/6 Vigilance Giant. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Radiant Solar. For 5 and a white, you get a 3/6 Angel with flying and lifelink, and whenever it or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, venture into a dungeon. You can pay 1 white, discard it, venture into a dungeon, and gain 3. Up next, we have Sunblast Angel. For 4 white, you get a 4/5 flying angel that enters the battlefield and destroy all tapped creatures. Then we have Meteor Golem. For 7, you get a 3/3 Golem. Doesn't sound very exciting, but when he enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. Eternal Dragon. For 5 white, you get a 5/5 Dragon Spirit with flying. You can pay 3 white, return it from your graveyard to your hand, activate only during your upkeep. And then you can pay 2 to plane cycle it, where you discard it and you search for a plains card, not a basic plains, but any plains card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. And to round out the creatures, we have Ashen Raider. For 4, 2 white, 2 black. You get a 5/5 flying Akron. Whenever it enters the battlefield or dies, exile target permanent. Up next, we're going to go ahead with the instance with Forbidden Alchemy. For 2 and a blue, you get an instant with look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand, and the rest in your graveyard. Then you can flash it back for 6 and a black. Grave Endeavor. 5 black. Roll 2 d10s, choose 1 result. Return a creature card from your graveyard with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to that result. Then each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the other result. Vanish into Memory. 2 white-blue, exile target creature. Draw cards equal to that creature's power. At the beginning of your next upkeep, return that card to the battlefield under its opponent's control. Under its owner's control. If you do, discard cards equal to that creature's toughness. D-Spark. White and a black. exile target permanent with mana value 4 or greater. Revivify. For 2 and a white, roll a d20 and add the number of creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. 1 through 14, return all creature cards from your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn to your hand. 15 and up, return them to the battlefield instead. Utter End. 2 white, black, exile target non-land permanent. Swords of Plowshares. 1 white, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. On to the sorceries. We have Arcane Endeavor. 5 blue, blue. Roll 2 d8s. Choose one result. Draw cards equal to that, and then you may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value less than or equal to the other result from your hand without paying its mana cost. Unburial Rites. 4 and a black. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Flash it back for 3 and a white. Victimize. 2 and a black. Choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. Necromantic Selection. 4 black, black, black. Destroy all creatures. Then return a creature card that's put in the graveyard this way from the battlefield, or on the battlefield under your control. It's a black zombie in addition to its other types. Exile Necromantic Selection. And then Extract Brain. X blue black. Target opponent chooses X cards from their hand. Look at those cards. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. We do have a couple enchantments. We have Minimus Containment. 2 1 white. Enchant non-land permanent. Enchanted permanent becomes a treasure token. It's actually really powerful. Thorough Investigation. For 2 and white. Whenever you attack, investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, which is what you get from investigating, venture into a dungeon. And good old Propaganda. 2 and a blue. Creatures can't attack you unless your controller pays 2 for each creature they control that is attacking you. On to the artifacts. You have Lightning Greaves. For 2, you get equipment that gives you Haste and Shroud, equips for 0. Wand of Orcus. 2 and a black. Whenever equipped creature attacks or blocks it and zombies Sorry, I have to reread this. Whenever an equipped creature attacks or blocks it and zombies you control gain Death Touch until end of turn. Okay. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. It equips for 3. Bucknard's Everfull Purse. We just reviewed this in the last deck, but I'll go over it again. 2 white, or it's for 2. You pay 1, tap it, roll a d4, create the number of treasure tokens equal to the result, and the player to the right gets the purse. Immovable Rod. For a single white, you may choose not to untap it during your untap steps, and whenever it becomes untapped, venture into a dungeon. For 3 and a white, tap. For as long as it remains tapped, another target permanent loses all its abilities, can't attack or block. Arcane Sigil. 2, tap out of mana of any color that's in your commander's color identity. Obligatory Soul Ring. Rod of Absorption. 2 and a blue. Whenever a creature casts, or whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, exile instead of putting it into a graveyard as it resolves. Then you pay X, sacrifice it, and then you can cast any number of spells from among cards exiled with Rod of Absorption. The total mana cost of X or less without paying their mana costs. Component Perch. 3. Tap, remove a component counter from it. Add 2 mana of different colors. And then you can also tap to roll a d20. 1 through 9, you put a single counter on it. 10 through 20, put 2 counters on it. Command Sphere. 3. Tap out a mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Sack it, draw a card. Wayfarer's Bauble. 1. And then you pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it. Search for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. Dungeon Map. So I can get these cards to stop moving so much. 3, it taps for a colorless, or you can pay 3, tap it to venture into a dungeon, only as a sorcery. Rounding out the artifacts, we have Felware Stone. For 2, you can tap and add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls will produce. Non-basics is next. We have Evolving Wilds. Tap, sack it, search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. Esper Paranormal. It might as well be another copy of Evolving Wilds, except for it taps for colorless, and then you have to pay 1 to sacrifice it, and you can get a basic Plains, Island, or Swamp on the battlefield tapped. Terramorphic Expanse, sack it, fetch a basic land tapped. Sunken Hollow, enters unless you control 2 or more basic lands. The Orzhov tap land, or the Orzhov bounce land. Nimbus Maze, you can either tap it and add colorless, or tap it and add a white, only if you control an island, or a blue, only if you control lands. Port Town. You have to reveal either a plains or an island from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped. Thriving Heath enters the battlefield. Choose a color other than white. It can tap for either a white or the color that you chose. Choked Estuary. If you reveal an island or swamp, it doesn't enter tapped. Darkwater Catacombs, it's the Dimir Sigget land. Thriving Island. You either get blue or another chosen color. The Dimir Balance land. Sorry, these cards keep sliding. Prairie Stream enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Thriving Moor, you either get a black or a chosen color. The Azorius Bounce land. Command Tower. Arcane Sanctum, which is pretty much another copy of Command Tower, just enters tapped. Exotic Orchard, you get a 1 mana of any color that an opponent can produce, Fellwar Stone on a land. High Market, you can either add colorless, or you can sacrifice a creature and gain a life. And then Gara Reach Sanctum, you can either get a colorless, or you can pay 2, and then everybody draws a card, and everybody discards a card. To round that off, we have 7 plains, 5 islands, and 7 swamps. I'll talk to you guys on the next one. I'm trying to bust these out real quick, so I'm sorry if it seemed like I'm rushing through them. I'll see you guys later.